Hey world, what up? The Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James has been going through quite a hurdle within this week in the NBA season. Now, they're still in a fine spot. They're second seed in the Western Conference, sitting right behind the Utah Jazz and over the LA Clippers, due to the LA Clippers falling to the Brooklyn Nets standings of tonight. But we do have reports of Anthony Davis going to be out around 4 weeks, so he's going to miss the All-Star game. And pretty much we're going to see AD pretty much come back into action into later March, if not that, early April. The LA Lakers are sitting at a 22-9 record, 2.5 games behind the Utah Jazz, and half a game over the LA Clippers. I stated my position. LeBron James has a great narrative and a great case to make MVP considerations. And besides from that, with Anthony Davis being out of the rotation for a month, this leaves LeBron James a good position to make an MVP case if he were to make these Lakers a number one seed and one of the best teams in the NBA. Besides from that, from a bigger picture side of things, LeBron James and the LA Lakers, there's been expectations of them being favorites to win the NBA championship. In the Western Conference, you pretty much have two teams, the Lakers or the Clippers, the Battle of LA. In the Eastern Conference, you really won't see any teams that are going to be proclaimed as favorites to win the championship, besides maybe the Brooklyn Nets. The Philadelphia 76ers are a nice story with Joel Embiid, who pretty much is leading in the MVP race, but I doubt they're a threat to win the championship. Now, the Brooklyn Nets are my favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. Beginning of the season, I did have the Boston Celtics. They're sitting at a 15-15 record, and they lost in overtime against the New Orleans Pelicans today. They have some internal problems. I won't jump too much into them. Now, the LA Lakers are in a fine situation. You really got to have the X factor of Anthony Davis's health heading into the playoffs. And if the Lakers can retain either a top one, top two seed in the West, home court advantage. So we're going to jump here into ESPN. Actually, my bad. We're going to jump into FS1 with Nick Wright and the crew. They'll go a little more deep on the LA Lakers and expectations to either win the championship or fold under the pressure of LeBron James.
How concerned should Lakers fans be with Anthony Davis after he re-aggravated his Achilles injury last night?
Yeah, and listen, AD's been out for 3 games. The Lakers have a 1-2 record within the standings, winning against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a great performance by LeBron James, and then losing pretty close games against the Brooklyn Nets, as well as losing against the Miami Heat to Alex Caruso's missed game-tying shot at the end of the game. Now, credit to LeBron James, but Dennis Schroeder had not played within those 2 games due to COVID protocols. Tests have been negative. But besides from that, LeBron James and the healthy crew, besides from Anthony Davis, they're going to have to win some ball games to overseed the Utah Jazz, getting the number 1 seed. This is going to help LeBron James's MVP case, let alone you're going to have a month without Anthony Davis, who's an efficient scorer for the LA Lakers that they can rely on. The number 3 scorer has always been Dennis Schroeder, so he's pretty much fine taking that extra step within their team. But this puts a whole nod on Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is going to have to step up in a consistent basis for the LA Lakers, which he's been doing so. But with AD coming out, defensively, they're going to be atrocious in the inside. Marc Gasol cannot get it done. Montrezl Harrell cannot get it done with. Now, Kuzma starting at the 4. How is this going to happen defensively? Now, with a team with LeBron James in it, they'll be fine enough to win some of those close ball games. Besides from that, the LA Lakers have been reports to bring in Boogie Cousins from the Houston Rockets. The Rockets have reported they're going to part ways with Boogie Cousins within this week. Expect them to let go and waive Boogie Cousins, and he's going to be in considerations for the Brooklyn Nets, the LA Lakers, the Miami Heat, and maybe a few other suitors. We'll tell.
Jason, as concerned as possible. I mean, first of all, anytime you hear that word Achilles, you get scared. We know how dangerous of an injury that is, and it doesn't look that bad at this point. And even last night after the game, Anthony Davis said the doctors told him everything looked good, even as they want him to get the MRI today. So, we'll have to see what comes of the MRI, but they should do as LeBron James said last night, take as much time as is necessary for AD to get healthy, because it is championship or bust for this team, period. I know AD is young, and Dennis Schroeder and some of the other players are young. But guess who isn't young? LeBron James. And I know he looks like he's got 4 more years at an elite level left, but you never can be certain of that. You never know when Father Time will creep in. So every single season that LeBron is still playing great ball, it is championship or bust. So rest AD as long as it takes to get that Achilles back to where it needs to be. And I know, look, I've talked about it on this show. AD's numbers are down all across the board, scoring, rebounding, free throw shooting. He is not having the MVP type season I expected him to have coming off that championship year. But I'm telling you, they have very little, if any, chance of winning the NBA Finals without a healthy Anthony Davis. I will put the Clippers ahead of them out west. I would put Brooklyn ahead of them in the east, maybe even Philadelphia. And the way Utah is playing, I don't know that you could write them off. So the Lakers need to make sure they get AD healthy. This is huge.
Listen, this is just a distraction for you folks. Having the news that Anthony Davis is going to be out for a month, that pretty much puts the NBA in a position for most voters, let alone NBA fans, to pretty much look away from the Lakers, and that elevates the Clippers and Nets' chances. Listen, the Lakers are going to win the 2021 NBA championship as it is. You got to take it on a step-by-step basis. Besides from that, yes, Anthony Davis is having a downfall of a season. He will not be an all-star starter. He will get the votes to be a reserve, but he's most likely not going to play in the game. He'll just rest it up. With Anthony Davis, he is giving you 22.5 points this season and 8 rebounds. We expected him, early predictions, to be Defensive Player of the Year, since Giannis is not going to get that vote again. And that's out of the equation. Rudy Gobert is going to take that by a long shot. With the LA Lakers, LeBron James is going to use these 4 weeks of Anthony Davis being out. He wants to keep AD ready for the playoffs, make him be healthy, and LeBron can take on this opportunity. LeBron likes to take on these narratives and these goals. He likes putting more pressure on himself than needs to be. So with LeBron James, he'll happily accept this position, and he understands this could help him and will help him if he pretty much stays over 500, that the Lakers could be top 3 seed in the West, that he'll win MVP considerations. He'll win the MVP award, which is most likely going to go down with. He understands with Jokic, Embiid, and Lillard, that's not going to be consistent enough for them to have that high performance and team winning within the regular season at the end. LeBron is a longevity type of player. He's good with that. Now, the only 2 teams, if you're the Lakers, that you have to keep your eye out in the playoffs that are going to be threats in the Western Conference. Number 1, the LA Clippers. They never paired off in the playoffs last season. LeBron James and the NBA are clearly aware that now in this situation, we're most likely going to see a battle of LA in the Western Conference Finals. If not that, in the semifinals. I fully expect this to happen in the Western Conference Finals. I don't think Utah is going to keep this up consistently. And plus, with the Lakers and Clippers, they're around a game to a game and a half behind Utah. That's one of them. In the Eastern Conference, if you're the Lakers, one of the teams and the main team you got to look at as a threat is going to be no other than the Brooklyn Nets with their big 3. And plus, during the end of a trade deadline season and towards when the playoffs are about to start, you're going to see a lot of role players and nice veteran players that are going to get waived, that they're going to get cut from teams. For example, maybe the OKC Thunder, they're going to waive George Hill. He's a great player that the LA Clippers could really use. Same thing when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. Andre Drummond could be one of those players if he doesn't get traded. Who knows about it? I doubt that they're going to waive Andre Drummond, that good of a player. But you never know what comes down to it. And then Boogie Cousins about to get waived. So at the end of the season, we're going to see more valuable players. They're going to link up to these quote-unquote contenders and NBA Finals appearance championship type teams. And it goes from there. If you're the Lakers, you're still fine as it is. Do your course, do your thing. Anthony Davis is going to get healthy, and you'll be fine entering the playoffs.
Yeah, I also think, Chris, this is a wake-up call to LeBron James. As you said, 36 years old. He's playing heavy minutes, especially recently. Chris, this is what I think people are forgetting. We're talking about the shortest offseason in sports history. Not just NBA, not baseball, 71 days. A lot was written about before the season about potential injuries coming off the bubble and the short offseason. Chris, look at the Final 4 teams from last year. Miami has been decimated by injuries. 3rd most games lost Okay. Look at Denver. They have been slow out of the gate, 15-11. Look at the Celtics, 500. They have had more players injured in COVID than any other team in the league. So we're finally seeing it hit the Lakers. You knew this was coming, Chris. They were eventually going to get hit, but luckily the front office built this team for an offensive team with Schroeder, adding Horton Tucker, who's been a really nice player so far. Montrezl Harrell. I think the Lakers will be okay without Anthony Davis, but I want to focus on LeBron James. Chris, I don't know that LeBron should be playing any back-to-backs. His minutes should come down. You said it best, right? This isn't about the regular season. As long as the Lakers can get to the postseason healthy, they are the team to beat in the West.
Yes and no. I mean, you did have around 2 months to where you didn't have much rest. If you're the Miami Heat and the Lakers playing the most games, the least amount of rest out there. And we pretty much seen that with the Toronto Raptors, the Celtics imploding, the Miami Heat. The Denver Nuggets, they lost a couple key valuable players, so I'm not really going to put rest upon them. But you have a LeBron James type team. He plays longevity. He plays majority, if not all, the games in the NBA. And they're fine as it is. The Lakers are around 10 to 11 deep. If you can bring Boogie Cousins into your lineup, if not him, if you can somehow make a trade to bring back JaVale McGee, or if he's bought out, if you can somehow bring Andre Drummond, if he's bought out in that scenario, you need another interior big. If they get one more, any of those three players, they are set for good in the playoffs. They'll be fine as it is. And Anthony Davis, he will be healthy. He will be good to go in the NBA playoffs. The LA Lakers will be representing the Western Conference in 2021, and they're most likely going to go against the Brooklyn Nets in the heavyweight NBA Finals.
Well, first of all, let me say this. I didn't see this coming. All right, I saw an MVP caliber season coming from Anthony Davis. Last year, he fought.
No, sir. No, sir. And ESPN before the season stated that Anthony Davis was the second greatest player in the world was laughable. Anthony Davis has always been around the 6th through the 8th best player in the world for the past couple of seasons. He's always been in that criteria. Even after his dominant playoff performance last season, he's still not a top 5 player in the league. You have LeBron James, you have Kawhi Leonard, you have Kevin Durant, you have Steph Curry. You got Luka, you got James Harden. Of course, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are 7 players in no order over Anthony Davis. I don't want to hear any of this. And you can also throw in Joel Embiid in that picture now. You can potentially throw in Damian Lillard, Jokic. I wouldn't go that far, but since Anthony Davis is having somewhat of a decline of a season, that's something you can't push him out of the rankings that quick.
Through injuries and kind of got rid of that reputation as a guy that didn't play through nicks and knacks here and there. I didn't see this type of, this looks serious. I mean, we'll find out from the MRI, but remember, they didn't think it was a big deal. They only sat him out 2 games. He comes back, is sore even as he plays well against Memphis, and then he re-aggravates it last night. So I saw games being sat out here or there. I did not see any type of Achilles type injury. Hopefully it isn't serious. As far as LeBron, he's a different animal, Jason. You can't compare him to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has only played 2 seasons where he's played 70 or more games in his entire 8-year career. LeBron James is an Iron Man, has always been an Iron Man, has played every game this season. And here's the thing. Everybody's pointing to, oh, he played 3 straight games of 40 minutes or more. I get it. That may be a little bit much. But for the season, he's averaging 34 minutes a game. It's a career low, same exact number at this point as he played last year. So how low do you want him to go? I mean, 34 minutes a game is a workload that I think LeBron can handle. I hear you. You got to be cautious with a guy that age, but he's already dropped his minutes significantly. He's averaged 38 over his career. So I don't know how much lower you want him to go.
No. LeBron James will be playing around 35 to 38 minutes a game with Anthony Davis sitting down. Listen, Anthony Davis is giving you 22 and 8 this season. Those are not good numbers. I mean, again, on my side of things, you have Dennis Schroeder running the point guard now. He's 3rd most in shot attempts and scoring, so that hinders more on Anthony Davis's game. I've always wanted LeBron to stay at point guard, put Wesley Matthews at the 2, and then you have KCP at the 3, AD at the 4, and Marc Gasol at the 5, but that's not the case that the Lakers are running. I believe Dennis Schroeder needs to be a 6th man, but I'm getting off topic. LeBron James, as of right now, he's going to give you 35 to 38 minutes a game. Right now, currently, he's giving you around 25 to 26 a night. And of course, an 8 and 8 after that, following along. Of course, LeBron will put it up. He's fine putting this on another level, another mode. Now, will the Lakers win more of these games competing of this? Probably not. Probably you'll most likely see the Lakers stay at a 2 to 3 seed with Anthony Davis out for the remainder of 3 to 4 weeks. But LeBron James, he likes to go unnecessary sometimes. He'll like to stat pad it late at the games if they're winning. If it's a double overtime game, LeBron James will play 50 minutes that night. He'll make sure to do so. I'm not dissing LeBron James. He does what he does. It is what it is. He is a locomotive. But you got to understand, LeBron James will happily take on this responsibility for the Lakers.
Yeah, I think 34 is still too high, Chris, for a 36-year-old. What are we doing here? This is a guy who is, like you said, an Iron Man. He's in his 18th season. Why is he playing 34 minutes in the regular season? It just doesn't make sense. You have a deep bench. Utilize it. Anthony Davis goes down. We know they're going to regress a little bit. As long as they don't fall out of like the top 6, they should be fine. We don't even know what the situation.
The Los Angeles Lakers are not going to fall that low. If anything, at one point, they could fall down to a 4th seed at anything, where the Phoenix Suns could possibly hop over them for, less than a week. But the Los Angeles Lakers are not going to fall that low when it comes to it. They're at a 22-9 record, 2.5 games from the 1st seed, and right behind them is the LA Clippers. They're around half a game. The Suns are around 2 games right behind, but the LA Lakers, with LeBron James taking on the way, Dennis Schroeder should be coming back pretty soon, which they lost those 2 games because they could have used the services of 18 points a game with Dennis Schroeder. But it's fine as it is when it comes to the LA Lakers. Now, next game they will be taking on the Washington Wizards, who've won 4 in a row. The Lakers should be fine within that. You do have an electric game against the Utah Jazz coming up within next week. But besides from that, the LA Lakers, LeBron James, they know how to adjust. Frank Vogel knows how to adjust.
Going to be with the postseason, Chris, when it comes to fans in the stands. We're talking about a LeBron James guy who's won 2 of the best Game 7s in the last, decade in the NBA, okay? He went to Oracle, won Game 7 with basically nobody by his side in TD Garden against the Celtics. I'm not really worried about LeBron in the postseason, but let's get there without an injury. Remember, his first year in LA, trying to carry that Lonzo Ball unit they weren't very good, and LeBron goes down with an injury. We don't need it again. And the league, Chris, they're desperate for LeBron to pump up the ratings. 7 of the 8 next Lakers games are nationally televised. I'm sorry if LeBron's got to sit 1 or 2 of those. We need him healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah, if anything, you sit LeBron James next game against the Washington Wizards. The Lakers are at quote-unquote home. That's a game where you could sit him. It's not a big deal, but LeBron, again, he wants to take on the responsibility of playing pretty much every game in the NBA. He wants to make that case for MVP because this is most likely, if anything, his last season to win another regular season MVP. And you know he wants it, especially after coming second to Giannis last season. LeBron James wants that last MVP.
Well, look, you mentioned the injury a couple years ago. It could happen. And he's 36. You could drop him to 32 minutes a night and he could get injured at his age. So you can't worry about that. Here's the other thing, Jason. They've got to get these guys acclimated to playing with LeBron. All right, he's a guy that doesn't play like most players in the league. So Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Marc Gasol, these guys have to get used to playing with him so that they can be at their best come playoff time. And I get it. I'm not saying bust him out to 38, 40 minutes a night, but I don't know how low you want to go. Here's the other thing, and I'm sure this is on LeBron's mind, and shame on anybody that says it shouldn't be, because I know championships are first for him, right? But he's also chasing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I'm not mad at
Bingo. Even though I didn't put that up there, I was going to mention that pretty soon. LeBron James just passed 35,000 points all time. He is 3rd behind Kareem the Dream, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Karl Malone. LeBron James, pretty much, if he trends another 2 to 3 seasons, he will catch the number 1 record all time, and that's what he wants to do. His narrative to quote-unquote try to be the GOAT, if anything, is going to be longevity and breaking records. So if LeBron James could play 20 seasons in the NBA, win 6 championships with 3 different franchises, number one in scoring all time, the most consecutive All-Star appearances all time, 6 Finals MVPs. Other narratives out there in the making. LeBron James has to utilize quantity, and he does have quality as well, but more of that quantity, or my bad, more of that quality basis and narrative basis.
LeBron for that. He wants to be the greatest player that's ever played the game. He's looked at me in my eye and told me that. All right, so he can't, have the 6-0 record like Michael Jordan in the finals, but he can become the all-time leading scorer. And if he can win another finals or two, his resume is impeccable in that regard. So I think LeBron is playing, obviously, for the championship, but he's also got some regular season stuff he wants to get. The points with Abdul-Jabbar and Jason. How about an MVP award in his 18th?
Bingo! And if LeBron James wins this MVP, he would be the oldest winning MVP of all time at 36 years of age. They're going to use this in LeBron James's longevity argument, and this is going to correspond and parallel towards what we're seeing with Tom Brady winning 3 championships in his later years, winning a regular season MVP in his later years. LeBron James will be using that same success and same storyline as well.
Season. We've never seen a player come close to playing at this level this late in his career. That also would be another feather in LeBron's cap.
So it only took 7 minutes for the first Jordan reference. I'm sure there'll be another one. Chris, I do want to add on Anthony Davis real quick. Some of the numbers bear out that the Lakers were doing their best to play him more at power forward with a big center, much more than they did last year in the regular season. We know in the playoffs, AD's going to be the 5, Chris, okay? That's going to be a lot of wear and tear on that Achilles, banging inside with the bigs like Rudy Gobert, okay? I do have some concerns about Anthony Davis. I mean, Chris, we got to see what the MRI calls up today, but I would not be surprised if he takes 2 weeks off. I don't want to see him All-Star weekend. Anthony Davis's health is paramount. And Chris, I know the All-Star game has been a point of contention. We'll get to your list in a minute. But Chris, I'm telling you right now, I don't want to see LeBron playing 25 minutes in the All-Star game. Okay. It's a great showcase. Get the young kids out there. LeBron and
No. LeBron James is a narcissist. He loves the spotlight. He's playing as many minutes as he needs to be in the All-Star game.
AD, these guys need rest. They mean more to the Lakers in the championship than anybody else in the league.
All right, I'm going to end it off there. LeBron James and the LA Lakers. Pressure is on them to win the championship this season due to LeBron James's age, but I've already stated with you cats that the LA Lakers will be winning the 2021 NBA championship due to more of an objective standard and let alone what's happening in the background. I made some other videos on more of the background stuff, but I'm keeping this more on a 3-dimensional basis of what we've seen on the court. Anthony Davis will be out until April time. Expect LeBron James and the crew to lose a couple games from here to there. The NBA's got to make that storyline to where LeBron James' team is going to go down at times, so not everyone's going to put the eggs in the basket with the Lakers. So expect more of the Brooklyn Nets to get hot to take that first seed in the Eastern Conference. Expect the LA Clippers to take it off at another level as well. And the Utah Jazz to be like the 2015 Atlanta Hawks, being a number 1 seed in that mix. But when it comes to LeBron James and the Lakers, they will be up there as well. I fully expect LeBron James to still win the regular season MVP. As of right now, I do have Joel Embiid. I'll get more into that in other videos as well. But the Lakers, they're still fine as it is. AD will be healthy come playoff time. The Lakers will be 10-11 deep. Expect either Boogie Cousins, Andre Drummond, JaVale McGee, one of those defensive anchors or a big man to hop on the Lakers roster. I'm out.